Hi guys, welcome to Be Bold DIY. This is our first DIY video, and today we're going to be making a hanging bookshelf slash bar. This idea comes courtesy of fellow YouTuber Living to DIY with Rachel Metz. This is a very easy DIY project. So the things that you're going to need today is going to be rope. Mine is 32 feet long, a 2 by 12 by 12 cut into 4 3-foot shelves, ceiling anchors, paint and primer, clamps, masking tape, twine, E6000, and a paint roller. So first things first, when you first jump into this project, you're going to want to measure from your ceiling to your floor to A, know how much rope you need, and then B, know how big and deep you want your shelves to be. So we've already done that. So now we're going to go ahead and mark in from 2 inches in from the end of the board, and that's where we're going to drill our first hole. After we drill the first 2 holes, we're then going to go ahead and take our rope and make sure that it slides through. Now, you don't want it to slide to where it wiggles and it has a lot of room. You kind of want it to be a little snug. Because we're not using a circle drill bit, we're using this pointed drill bit. My husband did not drill all the way through the holes so that he would not split the board. So then after that, to make life just a little bit easier, we're going to go ahead and use the first board that we drilled all the 4 holes in. We're going to use that board to then make the template for the other 3 boards that we have left, if that makes sense. Nobody wants to keep measuring the 2 inches from the end, I promise you. So then after we do that and all of the holes are cut in all 4 boards, I'm going to go ahead and start my sanding. The sanding did not take very long, although I did want to make sure that all of my boards were very smooth and they all had rounded edges. I didn't want anything to be, the funny thing is I didn't get any splinters doing this, so I wanted to make sure that when I applied my paint, that it went on very smooth. As you can see, the bottom board is the one that I had sanded already, and it looked really good. So we've already measured out that each side of the rope that we needed to hang each side is going to be 8 feet. So that's 16 feet on each side. So we cut the 32-foot rope. I keep saying inches. We cut the 32-foot rope into 16 feet. Jesus. We cut it into 16 feet. Then I needed to make the U or the hook part. So what I did was I used some E6000 and I put that together. I held those 2 pieces together with the clamp. Then once I was done with that, I went ahead and took some masking tape and put it on the same loop, but I'm going to cover that up with the twine. Now, I did use the masking tape as a guide to also make sure that the other rope was lined up exactly the same. Now I'm just going to take the twine and wrap it around. This also just, not only is it decorative, but it also acts as reinforcement for that loop not to come loose. I know E6000 is like a industrial glue, but Rachel Metz put it on there and I was like, it looks cute or whatever, so I'm going to add it on there too. And I did not want mine to fall because I was not using it as a bookshelf. Plus, I believe her measurements were a 2 by 10 by 12 and I'm using a 2 by 12 by 12. So my shelf is actually a little bit heavier and I needed to make sure that my loops didn't come apart. So I'm just going to wrap it, and I actually did 2 passes of the twine around it, and then I secured it together with a little bit of the E6000, which held up pretty well. Just going to add that E6000 to it. I'm going to really saturate the end of the cut just so that it does not come unfrayed or it does not come undone. Like, could you imagine having all of your home decor sitting on a bookshelf and it just falling right out of the ceiling? No. So we did all that. I made sure it was all secure. I cut the excess twine off, and then I spread out the E6000. Of course, I'm using the back of my scissors like an idiot. But I spread it all out just to make sure that I saturated the end where I cut the twine, just to make sure that it was really, really saturated so that it would hold and it would not unravel. Like, I do not want this to unravel on me at all. And then I'm just cutting off the excess from the top. And spreading out some more. Like, paranoia. Paranoid much, girl? And we're going to add some more. I really took my time, making sure that this was secure. We made sure that we hung it properly. We did not want this to fall down. So first suggestion would be just think about what you're going to put on this bookshelf. And then you want to make sure that you're building it and that you have the right cut of wood. So we did use the swivel anchors for the ceiling to hang this on. So now what I'm doing is I am going to grab my measuring tape, which is what I'm patting myself for. And I'm going to go up and I'm going to measure, and then I'll divide it to make sure that I have the right spacing, which it was not a waste of time, but it was a learning experience because the masking tape is kind of giving me a guide, because as you're going to see in a minute, the guide didn't mean nothing. It just kind of gave me a point to loosely tie my knots with the shelves on there. But once we got it hung, we had to go back in and readjust because they were still off. So I'm just taping up where I believe, they would be evenly spaced. Didn't help. So now that we have it hung up, now let me just say this. We did not have a stud finder, so we actually just hung the rope like what you saw me doing just a second ago when I was taping it off. My husband, who actually tore his Achilles, so he's on like a little scooter situation, but he kind of yanked on it and he noticed that it was going to come out of the wall. So we literally had to go up in the attic and make sure that we hung this from studs. So please hang this from studs, because especially if you're going to do the 2x12x12, it's going to be a lot of weight and it will come out of the ceiling. So here what we're doing, how we figured out how to maneuver the shelves, because they were so lopsided, even though I had measured and I did the masking tape. How you have to do this is we got a level, and then he pushed up a shelf, and then he loosened up the knot, and then he would push the knot either up or down a little bit, like undo it enough to where he had enough slack to move the knot up or down. And then once we did this for each individual shelf, and we leveled each individual shelf. So it wasn't like we were just trying to eyeball it. We leveled each shelf from each side, from the rope to the center. Like, we leveled the entire shelves. And as you can see, I'm holding up the bottom one to give him enough slack to be able to move the rope up or down. So Rachel Metz did this all on her own. You go, girl. Because this thing was a beast to get it. It wasn't hard to get it up. It was just hard to make sure that everything was leveled. And then doing so is when I realized that I bought a paint and a primer base. So these are not actually painted the white that I wanted. But what I was able to do is that this paint dried so quickly that the scuff marks that I got on there, he trying to get a little hug. The paint mark that I got on there, the marks from us moving it and moving it from outside to inside and painting it and everything, I was able to do the touch-ups once we physically got it up there, and then we had maneuvered and pushed and pulled and tugged at every single thing to make sure that everything was leveled. So once that was done, then I went back and I did some touch-ups. So as you can see, this is all of the scuff marks that I was referring to, that, you know, the little nicks that we got transporting it from outside to inside, from the living room down the hallway to the room. So this is where all those touch-up paints came from. And he's actually using the clamp to try and keep the rope as straight as possible so that it wouldn't buckle and move while he was doing the knot moves. So this is the finished product. I hope you guys like it. She looked like she's sloping, but she really not. And this is just me stylizing my bar. So I did want a bar cart for the longest time, and then I changed my mind once I saw this. I was like, oh my God, that is something that could be so neat. It's up off of the floor, and it just looks very cool in the space. And so now I'm just styling it, and you can style this and use this as a bookshelf. You can use it as a bar. You could use it as a backdrop for a YouTube video. You could use it for whatever you want. You could use it in the kitchen. You could use it by your laundry room to put detergent and all kinds of things on. Like, there's endless possibilities that you could use this for. And I just think it came out so pretty. It's so great. It was a beast, but it was a DIY, my first DIY with my husband, and we will never forget this one. So thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. You can follow us on Pinterest at Be Bold DIY. You can also follow us on Instagram at Be Bold DIY. And y'all just have a great day. And this is the finished product.
Against the side of the boat, Mr. Salazar. I don't know. More than once?
Jesus, don't fall.
Yes. More than twice? Yes. More than 10 times? No. Because someone pulled you off. I didn't know what I was doing. You just knew that you wanted to do it in front of your friends.